for you. This is News 4 Tucson, live at 6.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. The numbers are staggering. In the past year alone, suspected opioid overdoses killed more than 1,500 people in our state.
And as the News 4 Tucson investigators have learned, addicts who turn to the streets for their fix are ending up with more than they bargained for, sometimes with deadly consequences.
It was pretty bad to the point where, I ended up doing some time in prison for it.
Danny Howe is a former drug dealer and addict who has turned his life around. Before spending 4 years in state prison, Howe would trade ecstasy for prescription drugs like oxycodone.
I'd get a bottle of 250 pills at a time, for a couple of my ecstasy pills, and we were just kind of taking them all day, every day.
Now Howe owns and operates Ernest House, 2 halfway houses, providing a safe environment for people trying to get clean.
By me walking through that path, I think that I'm in a position to help them overcome the hurdles that they're going through.
For people battling opioid addiction, turning to the streets is increasingly dangerous. In recent months, the News 4 Tucson investigators have learned of counterfeit drugs being sold on the streets, marketed as oxycodone or Xanax. Instead, they contain fentanyl, a drug that can be 50 times more powerful than heroin.
They don't understand that what they're getting is not safe.
Fentanyl, smuggled into the U.S. from Mexico, is being mixed with other chemicals and being passed off to unsuspecting addicts looking for other drugs.
The profit that's available for someone who's going to take fentanyl and make a prescription drug that's then marketed is just enormous.
In fact, the Counter Narcotics Alliance tells the News 4 Tucson investigators, in the past 18 months of buying narcotics on the streets,
everything we've bought is actually a counterfeit pill made with fentanyl.
Somebody's first experience with a synthetic opioid could be their last.
Dr. Aaron Wilson is the chief medical officer at Sierra Tucson. He tells the News 4 Tucson investigators he's seen a spike in the number of people seeking treatment for opioid addiction. For some, their addiction may have started with legitimate need for painkillers.
Maybe over time they lost the ability to be able to pay for those, and they started getting them off the streets. We hear that time and time again.
And experts say people chasing their next high may be looking for a way to deal with deeper issues.
Addiction is not usually on an island, right? There's usually some depression, some anxiety. I would say a huge proportion of patients have trauma.
It's one reason why Sierra Tucson works so hard to identify and treat the root cause of a person's addiction, rather than just having them go through a detox program.
If you don't do treatment, they leave a detox center and they go back out and use. Without that tolerance, it's even more dangerous for them, because if they relapse on those previously used amounts, it could be fatal.
Try to come clean, try to get off of it, try to live that lifestyle away from it, so then that way you can be functioning and happy and get back on track.
And for more information about treatment here in Southern Arizona, check out our website, KVOA.com. And if you have something for the News 4 Tucson investigators, email us at investigators@kvoa.com, or you can call the News 4 Tucson investigators tip line at 955-4444.